Fixing your product page on Shopify is one of the easiest ways to skyrocket your conversion rates overnight. Your product page is the highest leverage template in your entire Shopify store. And by neglecting it, you are creating a bottleneck in the back end of your funnel that is preventing you from scaling your business both as quickly but also as efficiently as you otherwise could. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to create the perfect product page template on Shopify, as well as providing you guys with some free templates that we have developed for our clients and seen some great results with. So make sure to stay till the end of the video and collect your free gift. So to start off with, why is the product page so important on your Shopify store? Well, most of the brands that we work with run a very simple funnel that goes from a meta ad or whatever ad platform you're using directly to a product page and then to the checkout. And so your product page is actually the first page that most users will see when they click on one of your ads. And even if you're directing people to a collection page or to a home page, usually the purpose of that is for them to make a selection in terms of what type of product they do want, which will then land them on the product page where they'll then make a purchase. So the product page is really where someone's decisions are usually made. And most funnels will end up with getting someone to a product page where they can then make a purchase. So because of that, your product page is the highest leverage page on the website because someone needs to visit your product page in order to buy from you. Whereas in most cases, most of your other pages are not as necessary. And that brings us to what are the main goals behind a product page. Now, a product page has three main goals. The first is to provide value. The second is to objection handle. And the third is to cross-sell or upsell the user as well. Now, if we start off with providing value, that should come from the product itself. And what that really means is just providing value by showing how valuable this product is. How will this product make someone's life better? What benefits does the product have? What is a product good at achieving? What desired outcome will I achieve with a product? One thing that I usually like to do when we're working with a new brand is put together a simple offer for why someone should buy the product that the brand is selling. So for example, a very easy formula that I like to use is our product will achieve X in Y time frame without Z pain point and with risk reversal. The risk reversal part is not mandatory, but the first parts are. So if I were to fill that out for you, it would go something along the lines of, our energy drink will provide you with clean energy without any jitters within 20 minutes of consumption or your money back. So from that point of view, the clean energy is the benefit, the no jitters is the pain point that we usually avoid, and the time frame is 20 minutes. And so I have some clear benefits here that I can include in the product page, especially above the fold, that make it really easy for someone to see the value in what we're selling. Clean energy within 20 minutes without any jitters. And that's a really easy way to pull out the main benefits and main pain points that exist both within your industry, but also within your product niche. Now, moving on to the next point, we want to objection handle. So a big part of sales and a big part of selling that oftentimes gets lost in e-com stores is how can we overcome those objections through the website itself. So you want to find out some common pain points that people have or experience in your industry and start to figure out ways that you can answer them through your product page. So these could be things like in the example of an energy drink, we already identified that, jitters and crashes were one thing that people didn't like. So you can have a section on your product page that talks about, first of all, why the product doesn't have those negative effects, but also how you manufacture the product to avoid those negative effects. So those are the type of things from an objection handling point of view. And then finally, in terms of cross-selling or upselling, one thing I always like to say when it comes to a product page is that if you're going to buy, then buy more. And if you're not going to buy, then buy something else. And what that means is that if this product is something that you like and you want to buy and you're going to buy it, then just buy more from us. Subscribe to it, buy a bundle, buy 5, buy 10, buy 20. Alternatively, if this isn't a product that you like, or maybe you're on board with the brand and you kind of like the product, but it's not quite right for you, then maybe select something else, buy something else from us. Like if you don't like this flavor of energy drink, then buy another energy drink flavor. If you're a single product store, this won't apply as much to you. You can go with volume, but you can't go with variety. But most e-com brands nowadays usually sell more than one product. So you should have those options there as well for bundling and upsells and things like that. So now that we know what the main goals of a product page are, how exactly do we structure it? So I'm going to get into a lot more granular detail, but first I just want to give a high-level overview. So I would split the product page into three main parts. You have the above the fold section, you have the body of the page, and then you have the end of the page, typically where you have the cross-sells, upsells, and things like that as well. So to get a little bit more granular, in terms of the above the fold section, typically what we want to do here is we want to capture the user's attention and convince them to stay on the page. The above the fold section is arguably, not really arguably, I would say, the above the fold section is the most important part of the product page. Because if your above the fold section is bad, you will have a high bounce rate and you will have low conversion rates. Imagine that you click on an ad for a product, let's keep with the energy drink example, and you land on a product page where there's some dodgy looking image of an energy drink that you don't really trust. You don't see any review stars, you don't see any reviews in general. The header of the Shopify store looks a bit off. The image doesn't look good in terms of the logo itself inside of the header. Everything looks a bit off and there's not really any information on the product. Likelihood is you're probably not going to scroll further down on the page. You're just going to click off straight away. And we've all done that before. We've all clicked on an ad, gone to a website, gone to an e-com store, and not stayed and actually found out more about the product because something was just off about the product page or the landing page above the fold. So the above the fold section is really important, particularly on mobile, which is where most of your traffic is going to be coming from. So it's really important that we nail that. Now, what makes a good above the fold section? So first of all, you're going to have the product imagery, which is important. And above that, you will have a header and usually a promotional bar as well, which we do usually recommend. You just want to make sure that the header is really simple. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Have a clear promotional bar that highlights some promotions, some discounts, anything like that you're running, even if it's new stock or new releases and things like that. That's all good stuff to put in there. So that's the easiest way to start off the above the fold section. Next comes the main above the fold elements, which are things like the product title, the product subtitle, the review starts, the price, strike through pricing if that's relevant, and a bunch of other things as well. So one thing that brands usually miss quite often here is that they don't include any above the fold benefits. So just below the product image or even as a subtitle below the product title itself, it's really easy to include some clear benefits or quick wins that your product offers. So these could be things like in the example of an energy drink, it could be exactly what we mentioned in terms of clean energy, no crashes, no jitters, works within 20 minutes, money back guarantee. So you really want to make sure that above the fold you have those benefits, and you can reinforce that with some social proof as well in terms of review stars and things like that as well. Sometimes you might also have an expert testimonial. If you have an influencer or someone in your niche or industry that has reviewed your product or talked well about your product, it's not necessarily a bad idea to include it here as well. As we scroll down, you want to include a little bit more information about buying the product. Here we'll typically have variants. If the product is a consumable, we'll also introduce some subscription options as well. And we don't just want to plonk subscription options on the page. We want to advertise these in a bit more of an enticing way. So you want to talk about some of the benefits that exist if you were to subscribe to the product. Once that's all done, below that you want to have a clear CTA, and you want the CTA to be a solid color that stands out on the page. Don't have a see-through CTA that's difficult to see and doesn't stand out amongst the rest of the page. That's really not a good idea. You want to make sure that you have a solid CTA that screams at someone as they scroll down and is clear and easy for someone to see. And then below that, you can have some payment options in terms of like Klarna and ClearPay. Any type of paying installments is always a good idea to include around this section. One thing that we do see very often is that brands will include just like a generic strip of different types of debit cards or credit cards that people can pay with, and it'll be like Visa, Amex, Maestro, etc., etc. And these are things that don't really matter anymore. Like 10 years ago, people might have been concerned about whether or not they could pay with their Visa debit, but nowadays everyone expects that they can pay with their Visa debit or their Amex or their Apple Pay or their Google Pay, etc. So we don't really need to be including any information about that here. It's just if you offer any type of options regarding money back guarantee or pay in installments, you should include that around the buy button as well, just to handle any small objections that the user has around price or will it actually work for me or anything like that. It just makes it really easy to get the user over the line. So with that said, that is kind of an ideal above the fold section that has all the elements that we would want to have. Next, we come to the body of the page. And this is really where we want to start to discuss some of those objections that I mentioned previously. So objections come into two main parts. There are objections about the product itself, and there's also objections about whether or not the user can trust you. And so if someone can't trust you, it doesn't matter what you promise them. Realistically, they're not going to believe you, right? And so an important thing here is to make sure that we do have some social proof or some trust building assets on the product page that will encourage the user to actually want to buy from us or actually want to believe what we're saying to them. Next, we can delve into a bit more detail about why our product is good, why it's the best on the market, why they should buy from us as opposed to someone else, etc., etc. But we want to build a little bit of trust first. Now, hopefully you have some reviews above the fold, which will go a long way towards doing that. But you also want to make sure that you have some UGC content throughout the body of the page. It doesn't necessarily have to be right at the top, but at some point you should have some UGC content. And of course, you want those normal product reviews at the end of the page as well. In addition to that, we want to tell a little bit of a story about the product and about the brand as the user scrolls through the product page. Think of the product page as a sales pitch. You don't just want to hit the user with the product and say, buy this now. You actually want to walk them through in a bit more detail how the product works, steps 1, 2, and 3, what ingredients are in the product, what the idea was behind the product, how the product is manufactured, any normal objections that you get in terms of will it actually work, is it going to cause crashes or jitters and things like that, etc., etc. You'll have a clear FAQ section as well nearer to the end of the page, and of course we want that social proof kind of dotted around throughout the body of the page as well. That's really important to do because people scrolling through the product page's body are usually not convinced yet. They've seen the above the fold, they haven't made a purchase yet, they're scrolling for more information. And if someone's trying to find more information and you're not giving it to them, you're relying on them to go out and send you an email or send you a message asking you for that information. And sure, you might get people who message you asking you what your product does or any other questions that they might have about the product. But realistically, for every one person that asks you a question, there's going to be 10 or 15 that don't. And so we really want to capture those people that aren't asking you those questions. And we want to answer any questions that they do have for them on the product page very quickly and very easily. Next, we come to the end of the product page, and this is where we want to be a bit more aggressive with our cross-sells and our upsells also. So typically here, we'll have a clear cross-sell section, and that will just be a simple product carousel section. We want to make sure that the product cards themselves are really professional. We want to make sure that we have clear review stars inside of the product cards, a clear CTA to allow them to quickly add to cart, and clear product imagery as well. Now, in addition to that, it's not a bad idea to have a bundles section at the bottom of the page as well. So it's a really good idea if you were to pair two products side by side, make it very clear that they're buying 2 products or 3 products and so on, list a list of benefits below the product imagery that clearly articulate why buying 2 products is better than buying 1 and all the benefits that they get with that, and then show them a discount that they're getting, whether it be 10% off or 20% off, etc., and have a single CTA that allows them to add the full bundle to their cart. That's a really simple bundle section, but very, very effective. And a percentage of your traffic will just hit that add all to cart button, and they'll check out with a much bigger basket than they otherwise would have. So just to recap here, we want a product page that is going to provide value to the user, that's going to objection handle, both in terms of trust, but also in terms of actual product objections, and also going to cross-sell or upsell our user on our Shopify store. The product page comes in 3 main parts: the above the fold, the body, and the end of the page, where we typically do our cross-sells and upsells. And in addition to that, the product page is usually the highest leverage page on the Shopify store. So if we're going to do any CRO or any page improvements on the website, we likely want to start with the product page itself. Now, as promised, what I've done is I've put together a bundle of Figma templates that we've designed for our clients and have seen some great results with, following the best practices that I've laid out in this video, and I've included a link to them just down below. So if you'd like to get your hands on that, feel free to download it from the link below. It's completely free of charge. And if you do need any help with your Shopify store, particularly on your product page, then feel free to reach out via one of the links in the description below. I wish you guys all the best, and I hope this video was useful.